Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's guest, but as always, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors. You heard me say before, these are all great companies. You should be using them. So don't hit that fast forward button. Listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. You heard me say many times before, probably the best purchase I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. You know, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an AD, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but their new content creation service, Beacon Creative, takes it to a whole new level. They're going to take your stories, your history, your coaches, your kids, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on social media. You really got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Click on Content Services. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day. It does scheduling, rosters, results, facilities, eligibility, and clearance. Does it better and does it faster than the other platforms. It's homecampus.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the podcast. Homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. You know, Gipper is the modern marketing platform that allows athletic directors to showcase all the great things that your teams, your coaches, your program is doing. It's number one for athletic marketing, in part because of the thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize with your colors, your brand, your logo. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content on one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Let's say thanks to Booster Hub, the number one booster club software app. You know, if you help your boosters with volunteers, you know that signups and volunteer changes are a daily occurrence. But with Booster Hub, nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged. The same is true with sponsorship fees or concession sales. Booster Hub does it all. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. You've got a lot of choices for a master's degree, but Ohio is one of the top-rated programs in the country, has a tremendous reputation, and their graduates rave about the experience. When you're getting your master's degree, you also want to use common sense and time, be efficient. And while you're earning your Ohio degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to Hometown. Hometown's suite of solutions includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder or athletic website construction? The Hometown list just goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, head coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your entire community together. You're going to find it all at hometown.com. And finally, let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that really connects you to everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. Longtime listeners of the podcast will certainly recognize today's guest. If you're new to the podcast, you're in for a treat. We're going to be visiting with Marci Kornegay. She has a tremendous background in athletics. As an athlete, as a Division I head coach, she was for many years a Division I head golf coach. She also worked with one of our partners, We Coach, for a few years as the director of membership and leadership programs. And she is currently the co-founder and the CEO of an organization called the Girlsport Collective. We're going to hear all about that and more. But Marci Kornegay, welcome back to the Educational ED Podcast.
Awesome, Jake. It's so good to be with you and see you. It's been a minute, and certainly appreciate you having me back on the show and get to share a little bit about what I'm up to now and kind of the path that I've taken and some of the things that I've learned along the way. So certainly appreciate the time together.
Oh, no, absolutely. And for listeners, if you missed Marci's interview, go back into our Spotify archives or on YouTube. A really, really cool episode. A lot of good best practices for athletic directors, coaches, and leaders. Well, Marci, let's go and start off. Even for our listeners who heard your original interview, share a little bit about your background. As I like to say, tell us your life story in 2 minutes. But, you know, what got you started in athletics, and again, what's kind of been your journey that's brought you now to Girlsport Collective?
Yeah, it will be less than 2 minutes because I think the best is yet to come. And I think that's probably the path that everybody that's in some sort of a sport leadership position, especially nowadays, they feel like God, what's right in front of us is really the next story that's got to be told. And you're right. I've had a career in collegiate coaching, specifically golf, and spent many years doing that at the highest level, and actually spent a lot of time at USF, so just really close to you. But one of the things that I recognized as a collegiate coach was that there are so many young people out there that there's more opportunities to reach them than just about a golf score or just about any sort of score on any court, field, pitch, whatever the case is. And that's sort of the evolution that I've taken it from. I spent a lot of time recruiting young women, and they were the most elite young women that I could possibly get on the team. And then started scratching my head all these years later, thinking that God, there's these girls out there that aren't necessarily the elite players, and there's a place for them. And I think that as as sport leaders across the board, that we've really got to pay attention to the retention issues out there. And so those are the types of things that have led me along my path. I got deeply passionate about We Coach and sport coach education and coach development, and have spent almost almost 6 years with We Coach over the last several years, and really saw a need for that type of development, particularly with women coaches. Through that, I've had the opportunity to go out on speaking assignments and I guess call it finding work, but finding opportunities to share a message because I've got not only like the sporting background, but I'm really passionate about long distance hiking. And I've hiked several of our nation's long distance trails, like with the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail. And through that, I've learned a lot of leadership lessons that are helping sort of shape how the programming is going with what we're doing now with Girl Sport Collective. And one of those is to always be curious at any cost and to never quit on a bad day. And so, if you're smart enough to just keep your eyes and ears peeled and open, then everything that you surround yourself with can teach you about what it is you want to see right in front of you.
Wow, I'm with you 100% on everything except that long distance hiking. It's just not something in, in my toolbox. But I do understand it. I got many friends that just love the outdoors. I want to go out on the pontoon boat, have a beverage, maybe jump in the water, and then get back in the boat. For you, I want to ask this question, and I think I already know the answer, but you talk about retention. You talk about, working with that population. In this case, it's girls, but it could be all genders that aren't going pro, that even aren't going Division One, and it just annoys the heck out of me. As a coach and as an AD, I was competitive as the next person. We wanted to win, we wanted those championships, but hey, only 6% of our kids, and I was a high school coach for most of my career, only 6% or less were going on to college. Let's not ignore the other 94% that aren't going to play sports, probably competitive sports beyond that. And it just drove me crazy when I would hear coaches all talk about, oh, the playoffs, playoffs, playoffs. Well, hey, most of your kids are never going to see the playoffs. So I love that whole component. Now, for you, quick question. And I got to set it up again. I'm talking way too much. My wife was a product. She was a sophomore in high school when Title IX was enacted in 1972, and ran on her boys cross country team. The coach said, "No, you can't have a girls team." She started beating most of the boys, so he goes, "Okay, I guess you can have a girls team." Ran Division One. Was a career coach, a Hall of Fame coach, but I think for most of her career as a athlete and as a coach, she was succeeding in spite of the environment she was in, not because of she had great mentors. She had women coaches and people that were supporting her. For you, you're a little bit younger than me, a lot younger. Did you succeed because of mentors or in spite of the environment or a combination of both?
I think in spite of both, and I will say, I think it's really important for my generation and generations to come to really understand the importance of Title IX and what it truly represents. But yeah, I think that it was a healthy combination of in spite of, and because I wanted, that intrinsic motivation that just comes from deep down inside where we all know the quotes, been over sweat and tears when nobody's watching, that kind of stuff. But I think that the more you get told no, the more that sort of sharpens your tools and you figure out a way to be a lot more resourceful in creating something that maybe doesn't exist or becoming better because of it. Um, there's always a lot of doubters out there when you are an athlete, and that's a lot of noise, and our athletes today are hearing it. And unfortunately, I'm in the schools and in programs and clubs where these girls, specifically in this case, they do hear the doubt. And they are told, hey, well, you're probably not going to make varsity. And I guess my question is that if we're going to reframe that mindset, how can we as a whole start reframing sort of maybe the next best thing isn't making varsity, or that you're not framing success as how many championships did we win, how many people did we sign to go off and play letters of intent in the future. And what if we built a system that challenges girls to see sport a little bit different, where it's not necessarily high performance pathways, but what if it's more like high performance confidence in a way where you're actually saying, okay, well, what is the future of sport look like for me as an athlete? Pretty mediocre, run of the pack. I'm struggling to make the team. You know the athletes that I'm talking about right now. We all do because there's more of them in our institutions and in our schools. But what if we figured out a way for those girls to buy in, take a little bit of ownership, and help them get more curious about their development, build in some of those leadership skills, help them with communication, help own some of their performance status so that they can, in turn, understand their bodies enough to be able to perform at a higher level. Or maybe they just sit there and say, you know what, sport's not for me, and that's okay, but I want to go be a coach. I want to be in journalism. I want to go code the next sport technology piece. And sometimes those are the things that I feel like athletic departments probably ought to pride themselves on, in terms of when those students leave the school and they come back and say, I was never meant to be an Olympian, but what I am is crushing it as one of these futures in sport. And I think that as a whole, we're starting to see more women in leadership position, but this is the answer to it all, is inserting programs that are going to allow girls an opportunity to see that there's more than just a high performance pathway, or there's more than just playing time, and there's more than just physical development in sport.
Boy, great stuff. I guess is it is it a generational thing? I tell the story many times. I was football and track in high school, but I got cut from my varsity basketball team, as a junior. And hey, you try out, and you don't make it. I just remember, yeah, I was let down because I knew I could play. I also knew I wasn't the best guy out there, but I still went to all the games because those are my friends playing. I was still cheering for the team. And, fast forward 50 plus years, now it seems like it's just much more, this is my word, tragic for individuals if they don't make a particular team. I'm dumping this on you. What happened? I mean, why is it a thing? And I'm not trying to minimize it, but I guess maybe change the question. What do we do? How can we make it so it's not so much of a thing anymore?
Yeah, I think that we see the more elite pathways and more high performance pathways. I think opportunities start to narrow a little bit more. It's harder to make teams. It's harder to find teams. You got rural and regional areas where, travel concerns and travel costs. I know that it's on the forefront of everybody's thoughts right now is, what is youth sports turning into
Mm-hmm.
in terms of sustainability and affordability. Um, and so I think that overall, we've seen a generational shift where sport is actually starting to exclude people, and it's really starting to exclude girls at the top level because there's not enough opportunities for them to understand, build the confidence, and really be understood who they are as an athlete or who they are or could be in the ecosystem because we're only coaching sport as it is, as we know it. And I think I guess to answer your question on what do we do about it now, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of solutions, but one of the solutions that I would love to see happen, and if anybody is out there that is interested in partnering to create more working teams. So picture this. You've got your girls varsity basketball, they've got junior varsity, they got all the things. But what if there was a team that worked the games and they're coached with the same intensity? So you get officials who are now recognized, they're licensed, they're official officials. You get teams that work on game day coordination and logistics. They're practiced, they're coached in a way all the way down to concessions or anything like that. So you've got working teams that work alongside the actual competing teams. And, I guess the easiest way to think about it for me is like looking into the theater department. You've got your actors and you've got your singers, but you also have your work crew. And the show doesn't go on without the work crew. And what if we started putting the same type of energy and intensity to making it more inclusive for more people to compete, but maybe they're working for positions on that work team. And I would love to see more of that and see what happens with that.
I think that's such a great idea, and now I'm stuck. I know there's a couple of people that we've had on the show that do that sort of thing in their athletic department, and this. Just using an example like a team manager. Sometimes it's not it's sometimes it's a person who didn't make the team, but they love the sport, they love the group of kids, and they stay on. And that manager in high school turns into a manager at the college level and ends up staying in sport, and maybe becomes a leader, an executive, or something. Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea. Let's go and jump right into what you're doing right now. You've been with, as a co-founder and as the CEO, Girls Sport Collective, and for our listeners, that's girlsportcollective.com. How did it all come together, and what are some of the things that you're trying to do through the program?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is co-founder. So I am also working with my other co-founder, Amanda Fielding, who has been involved in the world of sport in Australia and has grown up seeing some of the same things that we experience here, just different scale. And so we are creating a global ecosystem to provide more opportunities for girls in sport to experience sport differently, holistically, through performance testing. And there are so many different arms, but they all play off of each other. So we want to provide this ecosystem for girls to have an experience where they can undergo performance testing. And the easiest way to do that is think in terms of a general combine, some of the things that we see. And right now we're seeing combines more readily available for girls, but more at a higher elite level. And not all girls are getting the opportunity to undergo testing in that format. And so we are providing these as add-on opportunities, as singular solo events globally across the ocean between the States and in Australia. But what we really want to do is make sure that we're educating the girls through the data that they're receiving. So we are providing some of the testing concepts and components, providing the data, but teaching them what it means and what they can do with it and how they receive it. And through that, we're in the process of building an app. It's called Gertie, and it is based off of a platform that we've kind of dubbed as GOAT, and it's where girls gather their information, they gather their data, they own it, they adapt, make the adaptations for the data to improve or find other solutions, and then they train and continue to retest the data. And so by using that, it puts ownership on these girls, and it is an app that hopefully will be coming out within the next year. It's in beta testing now, and with that, girls will be able to input the way they feel, the feel good stuff, but also put their data from these testing opportunities that they might experience if we come into a school or they come to one of our combines. And Gertie kind of grows with the girls themselves. So, a lot of times we do performance testing to compare one girl against another girl so that they can be selected. We want to minimize what that selection process might look like, and in turn give opportunities to do more comparison reporting against themselves over the year through development as they grow older, as they get stronger, as they change sport, as they move from middle school, high school, and on into their future careers. So that is essentially what we do. We do that both in the schools as add-on events. So if there's summer camps, if there's existing events that are already taking place, it's a great value add to schools to bring us in to have this. It's a revenue share model for everybody, and it's an opportunity for the girls to not only just receive their data, because once they get it, a 15-year-old girl is going to look at these numbers and think, okay, now what? What's the next step? But with that, they'll get Gertie, which is a coach companion. And they will also get, just the one-page print off of everything that is also what is going right in the data. So it's never a negative situation for girls to receive their data and feel like they don't belong, because they do.
Well, really cool stuff. And I was on your website. In fact, I'm bringing it up right now, so I'm kind of cheating here. But just really cool stuff. It does talk about the Gertie app, but um, talking about the girl sport experience. And I'm reading now from your website. And I'm not testing you, but I'm gonna ask you to try to fill in what you can off the top of your head. Uh, what the girls walk away with from a girl sport experience says it's designed to build understanding and confidence, which right there, I think it's different from most combine experiences. As you said, it's all about ranking and, okay, here's your results. Thanks for coming. But it says on the website, girls will leave with, and it looks like there's, 6 or 7 different bullet points. Can you share some of those? Because I just don't want to read them.
Yeah, sure. Go to the website because the ones I'm going to say probably didn't fit on that website to begin with. And I don't have it pulled up. And I think that that's fair to have this conversation because it's a continued conversation. It's not just going to end here. There's 7 bullet points that you're going to get when you show up. But girls are going to experience things differently. And what we do know is when they show up, they're scared to death because all they do know is maybe they've heard of what a combine is. So they show up a little fearful, not willing to kind of break the ice and ask questions. So they will leave every single time with some curiosity. They'll know how to ask better questions. They will get a better understanding of what the data means, what they can do with it, and how to have better conversations with their parents, guardians, with their coaches. Maybe they're getting recruited, and maybe it's at the most elite level, or maybe it's at a different level, and they will better understand what they are able to do. They will definitely understand how to take leadership qualities away, leadership skills, and that is helping other girls better dissect and digest their data as well. With the ecosystem that we've talked about is that we want these girls to turn around and continue coming, and then they become part of the workforce whenever we host these events. So they're teaching that data, they're setting up the tech, they're, encouraging. And when we do separate the girls and the guys, and the girls have their specific event, then they are so cool in the way that they start asking questions that they wouldn't have asked in the first 10 minutes. But something opens up when you hand them grip strength, a dynamometer, and they're sitting there like, what do I do with this? And some of them will just kind of squeeze it and look at you like, okay, here, I'm done. And then some of them are like, okay, well, can I do this? Or what happens if I use 2 hands? And you can't use 2 hands, but at least they're asking the questions. And then, they're running speed test, agility. They're jumping on force plates and they start asking these really brilliant questions. And they're like, well, how come we haven't done this before? And I'm like, it's a good question. I don't know. Here you are. So,
Yeah, I mean, you hit them all, so I'm not surprised at all. The ones that I really love, again, kind of beyond that combine thing, is you talk about creating an awareness of the timeline. Well, okay, this is where I'm at now, but where am I going to be? Where can I be down the road? It's not just okay. Well, I tested here, and that's the end of the story. And then the final 2 on your website, you talk about awareness. Girls leave with awareness of multiple ways to belong in sport. We talked about that, playing, coaching, being a manager, etc. And then curiosity about how sport works behind the scenes. There's so many things beyond the playing and coaching experience that are just fascinating, tremendous career opportunities that I think a lot of people just don't realize that they're out there. So really, really cool stuff. We mentioned the website, girls. I want to say Girl Sport Collective, girlsportcollective.com. That's the website. You need to check it out. Marci, if one of our listeners wanted to, reach out to you directly, pick your brain a little bit more, what's the best way that they can do that?
they can find us online, like you said, girlsportcollective.com. We're on LinkedIn at Girlsport Collective, and then also on Instagram, and shoot us a DM at Girlsport Collective. I'm also available at any time, and I'll share my email address. I think the most exciting part of what I'm doing now are the conversations that I get to have, and they are all over the board. And a lot of the work that we're able to do in the school systems and in extra events is that we can cater to whatever anybody needs. So we can create a program that's going to work for you, and based off of the students that you've got. And so please reach out if you have any questions or ideas or thoughts. My email address is Marci, Marci, at girlsportcollective.com.
And you can also connect with Marcy on LinkedIn. That's how we first connected, I believe. Marcy, thanks again for coming back on the podcast and sharing all the best with Girl Sport. We're going to have to get you back on, maybe after the first of the year, do an update, see how the database is growing.
Would love that. I think it's really important to track your progress, and certainly if there's anything that I can help you with or your community, certainly don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, be careful what you say. I'll definitely be taking you up on that. Okay. For
I'll take
listeners.
you out on a long hike.
Oh my God. Oh no. You're gonna have to let me train for that. Okay. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you for tuning in. Encourage you to go check out girlsportcollective.com. Also remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Wednesday Wisdom just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational
AD Podcast.
I literally knocked
I'm
my
here.
microphone off the table. Marcy, thanks for the save. That's why you are a friend of the show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Hey, before we go, one more time, we want to give a shout out to all of our great sponsors. Let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys, Booster Hub, Home Campus, Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables. I want to say thanks to Hometown and all the great things that they do. Huddle, go to huddle.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, check them out. Ohio University and their online masters. Gipper. And let's go and say thanks to K-12 Sports Tech. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.